Game On is brought to you by Yoakum Ford and Schuylkill Valley Sports.
Welcome to this week's edition of Game On. I'm your host, Jeff Beideman. Throughout the fall season, Game On brought to you full coverage of high school football with expert analysis, interviews, and highlights. We're delighted to be able to bring you that same coverage here in the winter season for high school wrestling, boys basketball, girls basketball, swimming, and ice hockey. We'll have interviews in the field and expert analysis right here in our Game On studio. Gracing the Game On studio now is boys basketball reporter Kevin Cooney. Kev, Archbishop Wood got off to a 5-0 start in the Catholic League. Kind of ran into a buzzsaw Friday night against LaSalle. Are they still in a good spot in the league?
Yeah, I think they are. I mean, you look at, they lost to LaSalle in overtime. I think that they're more diverse now. John Moscow, the new head coach, is forcing them to play a little more of a tougher schedule, play a little more an up-tempo style. They have Luke Conahay, Tommy Funk, Cody Fitzpatrick. They have other scoring weapons than just Pat Smith, who scored his 1,000-point the other night. They have to make up the game against Carroll. They still have Newman and Roman and Prep, but I think they're set up to have a decent chance to make some noise once you get into the Catholic League playoffs.
Speaking of making up games, the snowouts have really kind of become an issue here. The basketball schedule looks like it might be a little bit of a mess. How big of an issue is that?
It's becoming a big issue, and it becomes a bigger issue if anything else happens. I mean, you look at it, you already eliminate the Tuesday night schedule. Pennsbury has 3 makeup games they have to get in before February 7th, which is the cutoff date for the district tournament. One more, I was talking to a couple ADs, one more snow out, and that's possible, obviously, with the way the forecast is going in the next week, could really throw this whole thing into chaos. You're already talking teams that have to play 3 games in a week. If you start playing 4, get your teams worn down, and I think that's a big problem for teams that have playoff aspirations.
And of course, we haven't even hit February yet, and that's typically our snowiest month around here.
Right.
As the season winds down, the focus turns a little bit to the playoffs. Early returns are the SOL National Conference might be in trouble come seeding time.
Yeah, you look at it, Abington and Pennsbury are the top 2 seeds out of that conference. The thing for them is they're going to not benefit totally from being elite level teams because the rest of the conference, the bottom end of the conference, is so down. They're not going to get the power points. Where will that play a difference? The difference for Pennsbury could be 1 home playoff game or 2 home playoff games in the first 2 rounds of the tournament. That's a big deal for Pennsbury, who's been traditionally a much better team at home than they are on the road.
Speaking of the playoffs, how do you see the top 5 teams in the area?
Well, you know what? Top 2 teams from last week remain the same. It's still Abington over Pennsbury, since Abington had the head-to-head win at Pennsbury. That's 1 and 2. Holy Ghost Prep moves up to 3rd because they beat Lower Moreland without their 2 best players on last Friday night in the BAL showdown. They're 3rd. Archbishop Wood at 4th because of that non-league schedule and the fact that they've played really well so far in the Catholic League. And 5th is CB South. And South obviously now leading the Continental Conference, if you look, Jeff. And I think that they're the team most likely right now to really make a step forward out of that conference.
All right, Kev. Be interested to see how those top 5s change throughout the next couple of weeks. Despite losing 9 seniors, CB South is in the middle of the race for the SOL Continental top spot. And reporter Jen Wielgus discovers the main reason why.
At one point in CB South's win over Penridge last Friday, the Titans student section began chanting MVP. It was clear they were referring to Matt Scamuffo, who scored a career-high 34 points in that game and is one of the top scorers in the entire Suburban 1 League.
I don't know. I guess it makes me feel good, but I don't want to let it get to my head. So just come out every night and play. So that's what I want to do. Coming back as the only returning starter, it's I guess it's tough, but we definitely have a lot of shooters around me. Our big guy, Chris Honus, he can score, and our whole team really. But I just want to be the leader out there. I want the rest of my teammates just, I guess, look up to me, and then I want to lead by example. So that's what I've been trying to do.
But the most important thing with him is he's a leader. And those are some of the intangibles that you get with Matt and you get with our other captains. That he's not overbearing or abrasive. His game speaks for itself, but when it's time for him to say something to his teammates, they respect it. There's occasionally, Matt might have a shot or two, or it might be a 4 shot, but as a coach, you got to let that go because the kid does so much for you. And that's really the advantage we have with Matt. Not just is he a scorer, he gets other people easy points.
Scamuffo plans to play college basketball at Gettysburg, York, Susquehanna, or DeSales University next year. Before that, he hopes the Titans can make a run at the SOL Continental title.
It's a whole new team, honestly. We lost 9 seniors, so coming in, don't really know what expectations you have, but we knew in the offseason we have a strong team, and we knew the conference was pretty much balanced out through all the teams. So I think just building the chemistry was big for us, and I think now in the middle of the season, towards coming down to the end, we're playing really well together.
In the Game On studio with me now is girls basketball writer Dan Duncan. Dan, we might as well start right at the top with the newly minted #1 seed in the state at the AAA level, Archbishop Wood. Do they deserve that ranking?
Absolutely, Jeff. Archbishop Wood has been off the charts. 12-1, a seamless transition with interim coach John Gallagher taking over this year for Jim Ritchie, who took a leave of absence for family reasons. They have 9 seniors. I've not seen a Wood team of recent vintage play this well offensively at this stage of the season. Always good defensively, always deep and unselfish. Wood's consistently been in the 60s. They just beat the #1 team, Bethlehem Catholic in 3A, by 22 points on Sunday. Wood, who was #2, quite obviously deserving of the #1 ranking.
Okay, switching gears, we'll jump into the SOL National. Big one Friday night. We have Abington traveling to Neshaminy. How do you see this playing out?
Well, you know, very interesting game. This game likely will decide the SOL National. Abington 7-1, Neshaminy 7-0. Abington lost by 17 to Neshaminy in the first meeting. I don't quite know how. Abington, to me, is the most talented and athletic team in the SOL National. And the word on Abington really is if they don't bring it for 32 minutes, they can be in trouble. If they do, everybody else is in trouble. Deja Rawls, Michael Harris, probably the best inside-outside combination, I think, in the entire SOL conference, all 3 conferences.
Okay, so Abington brings the talent. They have great depth. What's Neshaminy bringing to this matchup?
Well, quite the opposite. Neshaminy, I think Coach Joe Lally gets more out of his starting 5 than anybody in the SOL. They've had some concerns with depth, but they have some very good young players that they brought along slowly. And I think now is the time to really start unveiling them. They're going to need them down the road. It'll be interesting in this Abington game to see if they contribute more. Sarah Oliveira and Maddie Murray are 2 of the most underrated front court players, I think, in the entire Suburban 1. Neshaminy gets a lot out of their starting 5 and their defense when they play with that kind of energy. Tough to beat.
All right, before we let you out of the big chair, top 5s in the area.
Archbishop Wood, no question about it, playing tremendously. CB West, right on their heels, #2. Almost as deep, I think, as Wood. Love to see him play. It's not going to happen. Then North Penn had a good week, getting some good play out of their young players, which they needed to have to really get their offense going. Then Germantown and Cabinet, then I'll give Neshaminy the nod at #5. Benefit of the doubt until we see how they do against Abington.
Okay, North Penn's girls have themselves well positioned in the SOL Continental race. And as Jen Wielgus reports, freshman Sam Carangi has had a lot to do with that.
Coming into this season, the North Penn girls lost a standout senior in Lauren Chrysler, now on scholarship at American University. The Maidens gained a standout freshman, and point guard Sam Carangi has already established herself as a force to be reckoned with in the Suburban 1 League.
I knew that I had to score some, but I also knew that the point guard position, I would have to get other people the ball and make other people open as well. It was a little pressure, like the first couple games I was nervous, but now I'm just fine with it.
Carangi had a breakout game against Souderton last week, scoring a game-high 16 points. Through January 18th, she was averaging 9.5 points per game.
She sees the floor very well. She's got a high basketball IQ, and she can hit the 3 and attack the basket. And tonight she even hit a pull-up jumper, which we've been, really honored to start doing that, add that to her repertoire, and she did today.
North Penn sits in first place in the SOL Continental after sharing the league title last year and advancing to the state quarterfinals. There's work to be done before the maidens are ready for a repeat performance.
We'd like to get our other two freshmen, they're getting better and better, so we're not there yet, no. But the seniors and Michaela are doing a great job of bringing all the younger kids along.
Joining me now is veteran wrestling reporter Drew Markol. Drew, good to have you back on the show.
Thanks, Jeff.
We'll get right into it here. Escape the Rock tournament this weekend at Council Rock South. How did we do?
Well, Jeff, it's a great tournament. It's one of the best in the country these days. Council Rock South has done a really good job getting a very good field in. They brought Blair Academy in this year, and Blair's the #1 team in the country for a reason. We had a couple of local kids, do okay. Penridge's Scott Parker went to the finals, lost to a Blair wrestler. Dan Martaccio at South picked up a 6th place. It's a great event. It's getting better every year. So I give Council Rock South a lot of credit for inviting powerhouse teams.
Veteran wrestling coach Vic Stanley is back at Archbishop Wood. This is his 2nd year for his 2nd tenure at the school, and it looks like he's got things turned around.
No, it doesn't take Vic Stanley long. I mean, he's in every Hall of Fame you can name for a reason. He goes to schools, and suddenly those schools start to win. The guy's been coaching for 45 years as a head coach. He's had 1 losing season that came in his 1st year at the old Council Rock. He's turned Wood around quickly. He's on the verge of getting to 500 wins, which has only been done by 7 other PIAA coaches, which tells you something. Easton Steve Powell's at 496. Vic Stanley's at 492. Will he get it this year? They may have to win a couple of tight ones, but it's just it'll be another remarkable feather in his cap, for what he's done at all his different stops.
That's a pretty impressive milestone. Okay, district duels start tonight. Upper Moreland, Quakertown, CR South, Truman, Neshaminy, CR North, Penridge, and CB East are all involved in this. But the big question is, out of this local group, who probably has the best chance to move on to the quarterfinals?
Well, we have, Council Rock South is seeded 5th. That's the highest seeded team that we have. Penridge is seeded 6th. You have to look for those two, and Quakertown is 8th. I mean, if the seeds hold, those 3 will get there. But with the district duels, the top 4 overall finishers qualify for the state dual meet tournament. So right now our teams are on the outside looking in. Boyertown, which might be the best team in the state, is going to win the whole thing going away. So now basically everybody else is playing for 3 spots. Can one of our teams slip in? Can a 5th seeded Council Rock South? Sure, a 5th seed could get in. Could a 6th seeded Penridge? Sure. But as it stands right now, they're not supposed to.
Okay. Top 5s, wrestling programs in the area.
Well, #1 for us is Council Rock South. They stay there. Very good. And, this is, they were down for Council Rock South the past couple years, which is a relative term. They're always good. Now they're getting their way back to where they have been. 2nd is Germantown Academy. Huge win last week over Malvern Prep. Looks like they're going to win the Interact again for the 10th time in a row. 3rd place, North Penn, with Penridge breathing right down their neck. And 5th is Quakertown. Again, we've got some matches coming up, though, that's going to end up jumping the rankings a bit.
Thanks for joining us, Drew. Normally at this time, we would offer up a promotion for Drew's Wrestling Update Show. But unfortunately, Mother Nature had a lot to say to that, and all the wrestling got wiped out in the middle part of this week. But stay tuned for next Friday when Drew's back with his Wrestling Update Show. Time now for our college update segment, courtesy of the Intel's Angie Mountain. St. Joseph's junior long sprinter Matthew McGarvey won the 800-meter race over the weekend at the Saturday night shootout at the Armory Track and Field Center in New York. McGarvey, who graduated from Central Bucks West, ran a personal best and has now qualified for the IC4A Indoor Championships. UConn won the Great Dane Classic on Friday in New York. Senior captain and thrower Eric Massington out of Ben Salem took 3rd place in the shot put and also won gold in the shot put a week earlier at the Yale Invitational. That'll do it for us here at the Game On Studio. As always, we'd love to hear from our fans. You can reach us at Facebook and Twitter at HS Game On. That's it for our show this week. We'll see you next Thursday.